When you otherwise document all your decisions while cooperating, how do you make sure every colleague notices what you agreed on in a random quick phone call? I'm David Stiernholm, and in today's episode of Done, I'll share what you can do to avoid a certain kind of misunderstanding that might result in conflict. But first, structuring might take time, but once established, it can save time and improve productivity. In a short post on the Structure blog, I share a handful of specific things you can do to avoid wasting time on unnecessary structuring. You'll find a link there in the show notes. Chatting and other digital forms of communication are great, but sometimes the simplest thing to do is pick up the phone and talk it out. You and someone you work with start discussing something in the channel that you and your colleagues primarily use. But after a while, it becomes too complicated and you realize it's getting difficult to explain. Instead, you call each other so you can talk directly. It turns out to be the right decision, because in just a few minutes, you've sorted everything out, come to a clear understanding, decided how to move forward, and settled the matter. You hang up and go back to your diligent work as usual. But at a meeting a few days later, it becomes clear that your conclusion went unnoticed by all your other colleagues, as they are not on the same page at all. Well, of course, they weren't part of your phone call. If you have a regular channel where everything happens and it functions as a documentation of what you do, also document essential matters discussed in other forums, such as phone calls, physical meetings without minutes, and informal water cooler conversations in the regular channel. My good friend Tom Eiraksinen, who brought this phenomenon to my attention, told me that after such pick up the phone calls, he usually writes a summary in the regular channel, something like, "For those who weren't part of our conversation, this is what we concluded." If it's not a chat channel that serves as the documentation base, perhaps you have another document within the work group where everything important is noted, like a logbook. Do this. Do you recognize the situation I've described here? Maybe you've also experienced something like this causing trouble for you. Then think about where the best place would be to note the important things from a crucial conversation in your collaboration forum. At the next suitable meeting, suggest to those you work with that you document essential things more than before, so that anyone can easily check what has been said and what applies when the need arises. Because if you document oral agreements and outcomes of conversations where all digital communication is already documented, all participants will have an easier time keeping up with what applies and what has happened. There will be fewer misunderstandings than usual, which will save you time and money, not to mention frustration. Have you solved this problem differently? Please write to me at david@stiernholm.com and tell me. As you can tell, I collect tips like this, and I'm interested in yours too, of course. Thank you for today, and see you again next week.